Hello and all, welcome to a Galaxy Man Show interview show. So for my very last guest of today is this incredible actress known by the name of Angela Lazar, who has been this incredible film called City of Salt, as the role of Mary. So I'm about to add Angela into the live now and have a chat with Angela about her roles. So yeah, I'm going to add Angela in and here we go. Hello.
Am I sideways?
Yes, you are.
All right, let me fix that. I am a bit of a Luddite, so technology is always
You're
baffling
all
me.
good.
How are you?
I am very good, thank you. I
Good.
just want to say first up, thank you so much, Angela, for taking the time to come onto my show. It's such a pleasure having you on. To people that don't know who you are, if you can give a bit of backstory about who you are and what you do, and then we'll dive right into the questions.
Yeah. So I'm an actress and writer in the Portland and Salt Lake City film community. Um, I've been doing indies and short films for about 7, 8 years. Um, I started acting in theater in high school. Sorry, I'm a little distracted because I'm holding
So
my
good.
phone by hand. So let me find a better solution for this. Yeah. Um, so yeah, and then so you're familiar with City of Salt, is that
Yeah,
correct?
correct.
Okay. Yeah. So how did you find out about that project?
So I I'm a huge nerd and everything. Let's just say that, and I just love film. Like I love supporting films, and especially films like indie films. I love supporting indie films and stuff. So I came across City of Salt, and I was like, this actually sounds like a good concept of a film. And I was like, you guys, the cast of City of Salt, did such an incredible job at making this film. Uh, so yeah, so I discovered it, and I was like, I have to do interviews with like you guys, the cast, and to support you guys, and yeah,
Well, thank you. And thank you for
thanks very
having
much.
me.
You're
Yeah,
very
this
welcome.
is really cool. Yeah,
So we'll dive right into the questions now. So
sure.
very very first question. So you, as I mentioned, you were in City of Salt. You played the role of Mary. What was the whole experience like for you getting to be in City of Salt?
Yeah, it was it was really cool. It was one of the first projects that I auditioned for in Salt Lake, so I was still very new to the whole scene in this area at that point, and I didn't really know anybody. Um, and so I got called in for the first round of auditions, and I loved the script. It spoke to my heart. I feel like it deals with some really important issues. Um, and so I went in, and it was a pretty big audition as far as like the amount of people that were there. I think the casting room, it was like 10 plus. You know, you had the director, the AD, the writer, like everyone was there. I was like, oh my gosh. But they were really nurturing and kind, and I felt just very at home and at ease. And yeah, so that audition went well, and I got called back for the second round, and that was sort of a like a group audition. So everyone auditioning for Jessica and Mary and Jane, we all came in together. So I think there were maybe 8 of us at that point, and we were auditioning off of each other, kind of switching up roles, um, which was a little bit nerve-wracking because you're like, okay, like we're both going up for the same part, and we're gonna switch off and try to give each other everything we can in that moment. But it was really cool because then you get to meet like the people that you will be working with um, later on, and everyone was really lovely, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. So yeah.
So on to my very next question. So when you got casted in the role of Mary, what were your like emotions like when you got casted in the role?
Um, I was really excited. It was thrilling. Yeah, I mean, I was just super stoked to dive into this project. So I had done, I think this was my second feature at that time. Um, so yeah, it was just really exciting.
Awesome. So on to my very next question. So what was your favorite memorable moment or scene to shoot in City of Salt, and why?
Well, I think there were a couple. I mean, we shot on a few different locations and they were so different. There was one shoot that we did in a graveyard for the funeral scene, and I'm a little macabre where like I love graveyards and spooky things. So that was a fun day to hang out and just kind of be outside um, and then the other day that was a lot of fun for me was shooting the girls are hanging out drinking wine at the end and um, we got to kind of let loose for that scene and there was a lot of improv happening and just playing off of each other. It was yeah, that was fun.
Awesome. So on to my very next question. So to people that haven't seen City of Salt, why do you recommend City of Salt to people that haven't seen it yet?
Yeah, I mean, for people that haven't seen it, like supporting independent film, it was a really bare bones project. They did a lot with what they had, and I think it's impressive just on that level. And then also the social issues that it sort of digs into, I think are really important. And I think that it comes at it from a very specific lens, being that it's in the Salt Lake City LGBTQ community. So I come from, oh, you're disappearing. So I come from Portland originally, and it's a very different kind of bubble. And then coming here and seeing how um, a lot of these issues still are, we have a lot of work to do to move forward. Yeah, so I think people should watch it just to kind of absorb, what's happening here.
Awesome. So on to my very next question. So back in 2019, you were actually in a short horror called Silent Night, and you played the role of Gal. What was that whole experience like for you getting to be in a horror?
Yeah, oh, that was so much fun. So Julie Cordell Siemens, who is also in City of Salt, she came to me with this. It was called Dark Christmas Film Fest, and she was like, they're doing a screening, and we should submit something. And I had just come off of a project, and I was just exhausted, and I'm like, I don't know if I can do it. Um, but we decided to go for it, and we made it a silent film because it would be a little bit easier as far as production went. So you didn't have to worry about audio. We made it black and white, which kind of gave it this like, I just think everything looks a little bit better in black and white. And I had always wanted to do a silent film, and so we wrote the script, I think in less than a week. We shot it in about 10 hours, and it was just very like quick and dirty. And it was pretty wild because some of the shots we came up with last minute, some we had to like uh, sort of improvise. So we were working with Julie's daughter, who I think she was 4 at the time. So her attention span, it was like, all right, like she, she's gonna do this. So we're gonna work with this, and then figuring out how to put all those pieces together. Because I ended up editing the project as well, and so it was a lot of fun. Just getting what you can within that short amount of time and then figuring out how to create something close to your original vision with the pieces that you got. And yeah, I was really proud of what we did at the end. We ended up winning Best Director at the Dark Christmas Film Festival. So yeah, it was cool.
Congratulations on winning, by the way.
Thank you.
Such an incredible short film, by the way. I love my horror, and it was phenomenal.
Thank
So
you.
you're very welcome. So for my very next question, you were actually also in another horror back in 2018 called Donut Potential. What was that whole experience like getting to play Charlie?
Yeah, so that was that was another, it was a 48-hour film fest piece. And that was the very first project that I did in Utah. And I kind of put the call out, gathered a group of people. And I don't know if you're familiar with the 48-hour film fest, but
I've heard of it,
it is
yeah.
a marathon and a sprint. So yeah, you have 48 hours to like write the script, figure everything out, get all the shots done, get it edited, get it turned in. Um, and it was pretty cool. I helped with some of the like the gore and the special effects, and ended up doing the editing on that one too. And yeah, I like I'm actually in one very small scene at the end because had my fingers in like so many other pieces of that project. And the scene, I am just it's like the beginning of day two, and I am like just trying to stay upright and like do the scene, get the lines, and but yeah, it was fun, and I met some great people on that project. That was really cool.
Awesome. So on to my very next question. So in 2018, you have also been in a drama called Karen Doesn't Dream, and you actually played the incredible role of Julianne. What was that whole experience like for you?
Oh, that was amazing. So that was my very first feature-length film that I had done, and it was actually a project through Portland State University. And yeah, I auditioned for that. It just there were so many amazing actresses up for the two lead roles, and I was I was kind of shocked when I got it. I was like, oh my gosh. And I loved it because it was kind of a period piece. I think it's set in like the early 2000s, late 90s, and I got to play this like sort of mysterious, creepy woman who um, she's she acts as sort of a mentor to the main character and introduces her to these sleep tapes that sort of fix her insomnia for a little bit, but then it spirals out. Um, so the story was a lot of fun. The character was really interesting to dive into. And the cast, the cast and crew, I think for me, it was just like I still think of that as one of my favorite projects that I've ever worked on. Like it was such a well-oiled machine, and you have a crew of student filmmakers, and they're just so passionate about what they're doing, and they're just taking it so seriously. And I think that kind of set the tone for like future projects that I wanted to do because I was like, this, it really sets the bar. And it was cool that like it was a student film, and then they took it around to different festivals, and it ended up on Amazon. It was streaming there for a while, so yeah, it was wild. It was really cool.
Awesome. So on my very next question. So back in 2018, you were actually in a short drama adventure called SSQ, and you actually played the role of Nick. What was that whole experience like for you? Because that was such an incredible short film, by the way. I actually had a
Oh,
look, and it was incredible.
thank you. So that was the very first project that I decided I was going to write and produce, and I bit off way more than I could chew. But my dear friend Stephanie Lee, she and I tackled that project together. It had been kind of fermenting in my mind for a while, and then she's like, "Let's just do it. Let's get it done." I was like, "Okay." Um, so we pulled this crew together of about 8 people, and that was including us as cast, and we were doubling as like director and assistant director and crafty. And we went up to this cabin up on Mount Hood in Oregon, and we shot for a weekend, and it was just surreal because it was like I'd always wanted to make a movie about Bigfoot. I was obsessed with Harry and the Hendersons as a kid. I grew up in the Pacific Northwest, so that storyline was like really dear to my heart. And getting to make that come alive with an amazing group of people. We had Gwen Laree, who played Jane, who was sort of the mysterious mountain woman. She was an incredible find, and she's still one of my favorite actors. We had this scene set up where that character, you're introduced to her, she's like chopping wood, and it's just like, I don't know if we can make that happen, but let's see if we can find, somebody who's comfortable chopping wood. And she showed up and she's like, yeah, I was chopping wood all morning. Like, what do you got for me? I was like, oh my gosh, you're perfect. Um, so it was really, just to me, it was magical to be able to have that experience and to get to bring that to life, because it was something that I'd wanted to do for so long, and then finally to get to make it happen, it was a dream come true.
Awesome. So on to the very next question. So who inspired you as a person to get into acting in the first place?
Yeah, that's tough. I think I just always wanted to act as far back as I can remember, um, but it never really seemed like something that was realistic as a job. And I think it was like the shows that I watched as a kid and the movies that I loved. I was just like, well, how do I get to be in that world? Like, how do I get to play in these universes? And as far as like a person in my real life, my grandmother, she she did a little bit of acting throughout her life. She was part of SAG-AFTRA, and she gave me very realistic expectations of what acting was, because I was like, oh, it's good, it's fun, you get to hang out with your friends and just play. And she's like, actually, it's a lot of very hard work. It's a lot of you're standing around, waiting for your scene to be shot. So it takes a lot of patience. So she kind of gave me that frame to put it in, and um, I remember when I went to visit her in LA when I was about 10 or 11, and I was like, oh, I really want to try to get an agent. And she took me around, like, just to kind of like placate me. Um, we photocopied my yearbook photo. It was like this black and white, grainy, and there's no way like anybody's gonna call you off of that. But like just the experience of like getting to see like, okay, like this is what an agency looks like, this is what the process is. And that was a really cool thing that she did for me. So yeah.
So on to the very next question. So what have you learned about yourself as a person, like especially during COVID? Because like the way of the industry has definitely changed with COVID.
Yeah. Um, like dealing with COVID has been such a mental game, right? Like it's very much one day at a time. Try not to think too far ahead. Um, and I think in the beginning, I was just kind of taking a break from everything and like just trying to absorb what was happening. And then I realized like I didn't have any structures to my day. I was like, I need something to focus on. So I got back into acting class online. Um, and it has saved me in a lot of ways, just being able to have something to focus on and then get into the minutia of um, it's been a really nice distraction. I I think just yeah, having to have patience through all of this though, and realize that like there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Keep working on the craft, keep like honing skills so that when things do open back up, um, I'll be ready for it. Um, yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. Awesome. So on to the very next question. So if you could be in any TV or movie franchise, what would it be and why?
Whew, that's tough. It would either have to be Glow, the Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling, because I've always wanted a good role where I would have to get just super ripped and fit, and then like it's just super physical, and um, I mean everyone in that cast is hilarious. Or I would be in Black Mirror. which
Yes.
I love the dystopian sort of uh, dark technological future side of that. And just the cast in that is, I mean, everyone in it is amazing. So yeah, those two projects.
So on our very next question, so what are the whole positives and negatives into the whole acting industry, and how do you get through those negatives as a person?
Yeah, so positives and negatives. I think the positives of acting, it forces you as a person to get really honest with yourself. I think because being an actor is about being honest and truthful in the moment, right? And it's knowing yourself, and then it's knowing how to like get into the minds of other characters. And I think in order to do that, you have to have a good base of who you are. Um, so it's sort of inspired like a lot of, I would say, self-reflection and healing, and I think those are positive things. Um, I think that the tougher side of it, the industry, it can be hard with something where there's a lot of external validation that you feel like you're looking for, um, because you're like, here's here's my heart, ripped out of my chest, and like I hope you like it, and um, not everyone is gonna like what you do, um, but you can hope that some people will. But it just not getting caught up in that validation from other people, and not comparing yourself to other people, I think is really an important thing, because it can just be a downward spiral if you get caught in that trap, right? I mean, I think that as an actor, you always want to be progressing and getting better at what you do, and not worry about like where other people around you are at. Yeah.
So on to my very last question. So what's next for you, like for the rest of 2021 that you would like to announce on the show, like project wise?
Yeah, there are a couple of things that are in post-production right now. So I've got a project called Party Foul that we actually shot in 2019, right before things shut down. So hopefully getting that in the bag, wrapped up, edited, put out into the world. Um, there's a piece that I'm writing currently. It's called Class of '02, and that deals with LGBTQ issues. Um, and then there's another project. I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about it, but it's a sort of post-apocalyptic, it's a feature length, and hopefully that will, you know, get released some point in the near future. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, can I just say thank you so much, Angela, for taking the time to come into my show. It's been such a pleasure having a chat with you. To people that haven't seen Angela's work, definitely go check out Angela's projects that she's been in. Definitely check out City of Assault. Support the amazing cast. Any last final thoughts or anything that you would like to say on the show?
Just thank you so much for having me, Jacob. Like, this was really cool. Yeah.
Theo, I saw you yesterday going to the bathroom, looking one way and coming out completely changed. Why do you care what people think?
It's not that simple.
Letting your spirit die is not good. And snuffing out your true self, it's toxic. Is it worth it?
She saved me. Have you ever been saved before? I know we haven't known each other very long, but I trust you. You see me for me. This is Pamela. I'm gay, Dad. I always have been.
You're ran for Senate.
I'm not opposed to gay marriage or even abortion for that matter.
They absolutely cannot know that.
Trash like you belongs to those rehabilitation camps.
If you choose this path, you're dead to me. Do you understand me?
The DNA from Theo's hairbrush unfortunately matched the DNA we found on the hoodie at the scene.
Do you have any other questions for my client?
Because unless you're going to arrest him or hold him as a suspect, I suggest you let him leave.
We're all broken, Brother Duran. Each and every one of us in this city of salt.